When the Zha'korr, the galaxy's most advanced engineers, first landed on Earth, they laughed at our primitive trucks and stubborn bulldozers. Their levitating skimmers, powered by anti-grav cores and self-healing alloys, seemed like divine chariots next to our smoke-belching machines. But then the monsoon came. The rain turned soil into a bottomless bog. Their skimmers sputtered, their cores jammed with wet clay. Meanwhile, in that same hellish mire, battered human vehicles crawled through with chains, grit, and sheer brute force. The Zha'korr realized, too late. Sometimes crude ingenuity beats perfection, especially when Earth itself wants you swallowed whole. Dawn breaks over the emerald canopy of the Amazon rainforest, mist rising like ghosts from the churned soil. The construction site below is a scar of red-brown mud, tangled roots, and battered machines. Human bulldozers and rust-flecked trucks idle in ragged lines. Their steel hides are pitted, their engines coughing protest with every rev, but they stand ready, battered warhorses in the mud above. The sky tears open as 3 Zha'korr skimmers descend in a glittering spiral. They're sleek as sharks' polished silver hulls, anti-grav cores humming in perfect harmony. A low vibration rattles loose bolts in the human convoy. Workers shield their eyes from the swirling downdraft, mud flecking their boots. When the skimmers touch down, they hover inches above the swampy ground, never deigning to touch the filth. A ramp unfurls from the largest craft. The Zha'korr delegation emerges, tall, copper-skinned beings draped in cerulean engineers' robes, neural interfaces glinting at their temples. Their leader, High Engineer Versha, gazes at the sight through crystalline goggles, pupils narrowing with disdain. Primitive machines, Versha sneers, his voice carrying across the sight in perfect translated English. Scrap metal held together by mud and stubbornness. Nearby, Alina Ruiz, the human foreman, wipes rain from her brow, eyes narrowing behind dirt-smeared safety goggles. She says nothing, just nods once at Torres, the old mechanic leaning on his battered caterpillar dozer. Torres spits into the mud and runs a grease-stained hand over his machine's dented flank. A Zha'korr tech hovers a skimmer over a shallow trench, its anti-grav fields shimmering. The craft floats effortlessly, cutting neat grooves in the earth with precision lasers. The humans watch, unimpressed, arms crossed. A younger worker murmurs about the coming monsoon, glancing skyward where thunderheads boil on the horizon. The Zha'korr ignore him. Versha snaps a command in his native tongue. The other skimmers split off, scanning the site's edges. There, scanners ping and chirp, mapping every square foot. It's efficient, sterile, perfect, the Zha'korr way. Meanwhile, Torres swings himself into the dozer's cracked seat, firing up the coughing engine. Black smoke belches into the humid air. Bet this primitive scrap still works when your fancy toys sink. Torres mutters to Alina. She gives him a tight, approving smile, the kind that says she knows this swamp better than any alien. Genius ever will. In the jungle's shadows, rain drips from the leaves. The storm is building. The humans know it. The Zha'korr don't care. They trust their skimmers to stay pure, untouched by mud or gravity's pull. But the Amazon doesn't care about perfection. It wants to swallow everything. And as the first fat drops splatter on silver holes and rusty bulldozers alike, the battle. Lines are drawn, elegance versus grit, arrogance versus brute force. In that steaming clearing, the Zha'korr laugh. But Alina just watches the clouds roll in, a defiant spark in her eyes. Let them laugh. The mud will have the final say. The storm's first fingers drum on metal roofs, a soft warning of what's to come. The Zha'korr skimmers float above the ground, lasers humming as they cut neat, surgical trenches into the soaked earth. Their operators stand dry beneath shimmering energy shields, posture arrogant, eyes flicking with data streams. On the ground, the humans gather in a rough circle, beneath a battered tarp stretched between two trucks. Alina Ruiz wipes rain off a crude map of the site, her finger tracing the marked trench route. Torres stands beside her, rain trickling through the tears in his canvas cap. They want 5 miles by tonight. Alina asks, voice low but sharp. As a blade, Torres nods. Bet they think they'll glide right through. Haven't seen the bottom layer yet. Clay pockets, root webs, stone outcrops. One wrong move, they'll jam up like a pig in a pipe. A young operator, Manny, laughs. Should we tell M? No, Elena says, eyes locked on the arrogant silhouettes under the skimmer's glow. Let them find out. But we won't. Sit on our hands. Thunder rumbles. A human loader roars to life, chains rattling as Manny tightens the treads. They smear grease onto gears, wrap tarps around critical joints. The old diesel engines growl, defiant against the Zha'korr S. Gentle hum, the Zha'korr gather near their command skimmer. Versha, eyes hidden behind crystalline lenses, raises a hand for silence. A holographic projection flares in the rain. The excavation plan, flawless in digital perfection, his translator clicks. We complete the trench by nightfall. If you doubt our efficiency, place your primitive wagers. Torres steps forward, grinning wide enough to show 2 gold teeth. A bet, eh? My old cat, against your fancy skimmers. When they clog up, you owe us a crate of those power cores. Vert tilts his head, voice condescending. If you insist, and when we glide past your crawling relics, you get bragging rights for a century, Torres says, spitting a line of tobacco juice into the mud. Deal. Alina narrows her eyes at Versha. Double it. If you fail, you help us retrofit our rigs with your tech. A flicker of irritation passes through Versha's polished mask. But pride is a powerful drug. Agreed, he says. The humans erupt into laughter and low fives. The bet's a spark. Now the game is on. Manny secures chains around the loader's tires. You really think we can beat him? He asks Torres. Torres leans against his. Dozer, not can, kid. Will. This dirt has teeth. Those pretty toys were built for polished floors, not Mother Earth's gut. Overhead, the clouds swell black and pregnant with rain. A wind howls through the clearing, rattling metal sheets and snapping the tarp free. It flaps like a warning flag. The first sheets of rain slap down, turning the already mushy ground into a sucking bog. Engines roar. Skimmers hum, and in that clash of mud and pride, 2 species brace for a fight that's more than mechanical. It's a showdown between the promise of perfection and the raw, crude genius of survival. Night arrives like a hunter in the jungle, dragging a wall of black rain behind it. Thunder booms so close it rattles loose bolts in the oldest trucks. The downpour turns the clearing into a nightmare swamp. Puddles swelling into small ponds that drown boots and swallow tires. The Zha'korr S silver skimmers hover low, halos of blue light flickering as they strain against the thickening storm. Torres' ancient dozer snarls in defiance, its engine echoing like a wounded beast in the chaos. He leans forward in the cracked seat, eyes narrowed behind fogged goggles. Knuckles white on the wheel. He guides the caterpillar through waist-deep sludge, exhaust belching smoke that mixes with the steaming rain inside the largest skimmer. High Engineer Versha watches data feeds flicker on a curved holodisplay. Red warning icons pulse along. The Edge's water incursion detected anti-grav fields fluctuating. He barks orders in sharp, liquid syllables. A Zha'korr technician pulls open a side panel, yanking out handfuls of wet clay clogging the intake ports. Sparks leap from a fried conduit. The skimmer lurching a meter downward before stabilizing again. Outside, Alina stands under a battered metal awning beside a diesel generator. Rain dripping from her hard hat onto the mud-splattered site map. Manny runs up, breathless, soaked to the bone. Foreman. Torres says he's pulling skimmers out by the main trench. They're stuck up to the intake ports. Alina doesn't even blink. And the trench, half done. The water's filling it faster than they can clear it. There a crack of lightning silences him. Elena's eyes lock on the flickering shape of Torres' dozer. Steel tracks churning up globs of clay as it tugs a silver skimmer out of a forming sinkhole. A Zha'korr engineer inside the trapped skimmer pounds on the hull, panic in alien eyes. Across the site, human loaders roar. Treads grind roots into pulp. Chains squeal as they bite through the bog. Workers hurl planks and scrap metal into sinkholes to stabilize rigs. Gritty teamwork, the kind no algorithm can predict. Inside his skimmer, Versha grips a stabilizer rod as his craft dips again, caught in a whirlpool of liquefied soil. He shouts at a subordinate, "By the Grand Corps, override the fails." We can't hover like this. But the failsafes are designed for perfect conditions, not Earth's drowning fury. Elena's voice crackles over the battered site radio. Torres, status. Static, then Torres, gravelly tone. Pulled 2 out, got 3 more idiots waiting in the mud. We're chaining M to the cat. Might snap the axle, but they'll float before I let this swamp eat M. Lightning arcs above, revealing the battlefield, alien tech, half submerged. Human machines roaring through with brute force, and jury-rigged planks strapped to their wheels. In that screaming rain, the Zha'korr tastes fear for the first time. Perfection is useless here. What survives is what crawls, drags, and fights for every inch. And the humans, they grin through grit teeth. Let the storm come, they were born in the mud. By midnight, the site is an open wound in the rainforest, half swamp, half battlefield. Fallen skimmers lie nose down in sinkholes, flickering with dying light. Human dozers and loaders grunt and hiss as they churn past abandoned alien tech, dragging thick cables through waist-deep sludge. Rain hammers everything like a war drum. Inside a battered operations shack, Elena Ruiz leans over a sputtering radio console, hair slicked to her neck. Sparks fly as she taps the side, voice sharp. Torres, report. Static crackles, then his gruff voice emerges. Just pulled the last Zha'korr rig out. Axles shot, but she hold. Those pretty hover toys don't like roots much. Behind her, Manny kicks the door shut, dripping mud onto the rusted floor. He tosses a soaked notepad onto the table. Scrawled lists of skimmers, rescued, machines lost, fuel used. They owe us big. Without Torres, half of M would be buried under 6 feet of clay. Alina smirks, but her eyes burn with exhaustion. They'll pretend this didn't happen. Pride is their armor. Outside, a cluster of Zha'korr stand beneath the flickering belly of their command skimmer. Versha speaks in hushed, bitter tones, neural tendrils pulsing with frustration. The engineer next to him gestures angrily at the humans hauling a skimmer from a mire with rusted chains and brute force. In the shadows near the shack, Manny catches whispers. He freezes, listening. A junior Zha'korr tech hisses in the alien tongue. Once they clear the trench, we abandon the apes. Leave them to drown when the water rises. Manny bolts back inside, breath ragged. Alina. They're gonna ditch us. They're planning to split once we finish the job. Alina's eyes harden. She storms through the mud toward Versha, lightning flaring behind her like a war goddess. She stops inches from his crystalline goggles, face smeared with clay. You need us more than we need you. Betray us, and we'll let this swamp eat you alive. Versha's mouth curls into something like a smile, thin, brittle. What do you want, human? She jerks a thumb toward Torres' battered dozer. Your skimmers failed. Our scrap crawled through hell and pulled you out. We want the anti-grav core schematics, the real ones, not the sanitized specs. Versha bristles, voice dripping with contempt. Unthinkable. You would butcher our technology. You have no choice. Alina points to the drowned skimmers, littering. The mire. You're stuck here. Your cores degrade in this atmosphere, don't they? You need our minerals. You need our engines. We both know it. A rumble of thunder punctuates her words. The alien leader's jaw clenches, pride buckling under raw necessity. At last, he nods once. Fine, the designs are yours. Inside the shack later, Torres slaps a grease-smeared schematic onto the table. We'll hack it, twist it, chain it to our diesel beasts. When the mud wants a fight, we fight back. Rain pounds the roof. The humans grin at the Zha'korr, who stands silent, stripped of arrogance. The battle isn't over. It's only changing shape. Tomorrow, the hybrids will rise from the swamp like armored beasts born from betrayal and mud. Dawn tries to break through the storm, but the sky stays iron gray, the jungle steaming like a wounded beast. In the heart of the site, the once Zha'korr skimmers lie in muddy rows, gutted panels peeled back like silver ribs. Sparks fly as Torres and Manny, sleeves rolled up, rip apart alien circuits with crowbars and welding torches. The main workshop is an improvised hellhole, tarps flapping in the wind, fuel drums perched on cracked pallets, generators sputtering. To life just long enough to power scavenged tools. Alina stands over a metal workbench, one boot propped on a broken skimmer hull. In her gloved hands, she holds an anti-grav core the size of a toolbox. Elegant, humming with a strange violet. Light. Versha watches from the shadows, arms crossed, neural tendrils flickering as he fights back outrage. Your tools are primitive. You'll destroy the field stabilizers. Better than letting them rot in a swamp, Torres growls, cigarette hanging from his lip. He gestures to the half-dismantled caterpillar beside them. We chain your fancy floaty bits to these diesel monsters. Make M dance. A young welder, Maria, grins as she bolts a core frame onto a retrofitted loader. Mud won't stop us this time. Outside, the site has become a proving ground for human ingenuity and desperation. One hybrid vehicle sits half-submerged in a test pit, its front wheels chained with spiked treads, while a half-functional anti-grav core pulses at the back. Manny climbs into the cab, gives Torres a thumbs up, then floors the throttle dot with a roar. The rig lurches out of the pit, front treads clawing at the muck, rear half floating, water spraying in arcs. The humans cheer as the hybrid monster muscles its way up a slick bank, exhaust belching in the Zha'korr's horrified faces. Alina slams the workbench with her fist. This is it. We don't make your skimmers. We make something meaner, a machine that crawls through hell and floats just enough to keep from drowning. Versha steps forward, voice cold. You degrade our perfection. Alina spins on him. No, we adapt it. You're so terrified of mud, you forgot what it means to get dirty. Nearby, Torres and Maria argue over power draw ratios, scribbling notes on a dented toolbox. They learn by doing, frying cores, swapping components, breaking skimmers down to their bones and rebuilding them with spit and welding rod. Each failure just feeds their resolve. A shocking revelation comes from Manny, his voice echoing above the grinding tools. These cores degrade in Earth's air. They weren't built for this mix of clay, humidity, and minerals. They'll break. Unless we stabilize M with local alloys, Versha stiffens. The trade secret exposed. Their precious anti-grav tech is useless here without Earth's dirty fingerprints. Now they need the humans. Alina smiles, eyes fierce. You mocked our machines. Now you beg for our dirt. In the half-light of the Amazon dawn, hybrid rigs roar to life. Half alien elegance, half human brute force. Mud sprays, sparks fly, and the old dozer that once crawled alone now floats, claws, and conquers. The jungle growls its final warning as the monsoon reaches its peak. The sky is a solid wall of water, the mud beneath turning into a churning river of debris and roots. Alina stands atop the battered caterpillar, rain hammering her helmet, eyes fixed on the rising slope behind. The trench. A distant rumble rolls through the ground. The hillside above is ready to break loose. The human rigs, now monstrous hybrids, idle in a rough convoy. Chains, spiked treads, and alien anti-grav cores flicker in the storm. They look like Frankensteined beasts, half floating, half clawing at the sucking clay. Torres wipes sweat and rain from his eyes. He grips the wheel of the lead hybrid, his dozer, now fused with a humming core strapped to its frame with thick welding bands and reinforced plating. The roar of the engine pulses under his boots like a heartbeat. Versha and the remaining Zha'korr engineers stand under a quivering skimmer canopy, watching. They've given up on their graceful machines. They can't even hover without clogging up. Now they rely on the humans they mocked hours ago. Manny jumps onto the side of Torres' cab, yelling over the storm. Alina says the slope's gonna break. If we don't move the rigs and the trench gear now, the mud'll bury everything. Torres spits, fires up the rig. Then we move. The convoy lurches forward, a screaming, shuddering line of steel, grease, and alien light. They drag half-buried skimmers, fuel tanks, and critical tools uphill through a river that wants to swallow them whole. The setting is madness. Sheets of mud pour down. Uprooted trees crash beside the rigs. The slope cracks open like an old wound. Lightning flares overhead, casting everything in blue and white flashes. Engines bellow like dinosaurs. Chains snap under strain. One hybrid rig slews sideways, the anti-grav core flickering out with a crack of sparks. A Zha'korr screams. Inside, pounding the windshield. Torres jerks his rig forward, ramming the stuck vehicle from behind. Brute force and levitation working together to shove it up the slope. Halfway up, the ground beneath Torres' treads liquefies. His rig shudders, sinking nose first into the slurry. He slams it into reverse. No use. The slope behind fractures like glass. Water, clay, and stone roar down in a wall of sludge. Torres locks eyes with Alina through the rain. She knows what he's about to do. sacrifice the rig, his pride, to anchor the convoy. He yells at Manny, "Tell M, keep pulling. Use my cat for ballast. I'll hold the slide." Chains lash around his rig, burying the wheels deep. The slope crashes into the dozer like an ocean wave, but the hybrid's anti-grav core flickers, fighting to keep it upright. The convoy inches past, pulled by the other hybrids, carrying skimmers and cores to safety. Above the roar, the Zha'korr stand in stunned silence. For all their precision, they've never seen raw defiance hold back a mountain. Torres grips the wheel, mud pouring over the hood. "Come on, old girl, one last stand." In that moment, brute force and alien brilliance hold the line together, proof that, in the mud, survival doesn't care about perfection. It cares about heart. Dawn rises reluctantly, weak sunlight slipping through the shredded canopy. The monsoon has receded, leaving behind a battlefield of shattered skimmers, half-buried rigs, and glistening mud that smells of iron and rain. Steam drifts off the hybrid machines, battered but triumphant beasts that clawed their way up the slope. With half an alien heart, Torres' old dozer sits wedged at the hill's base, half buried in clay, its anti-grav core flickering like a dying star. Nearby, Alina kneels in the sludge beside the cab. The door creaks open, Torres' face pale under dried mud and grease. He forces a crooked grin. Told Ya she'd hold. Alina grips his hand with a steel-eyed respect that words can't carry. "You anchored the convoy. You saved everyone, even them." She gestures up the slope where the Zha'korr stand, silent amid the steaming hybrids and human crews. Versha's crystalline goggles are cracked, robes stained with Earth's filth. His eyes flick between the broken skimmers and the rumbling hybrids, now idling on solid ground. For the first time, there's no sneer, only a grudging, wide-eyed understanding. Manny limps over, notebook tucked into his filthy coveralls. "We tallied the trench. 5 miles cleared, deeper than they spec'd. The cores held under the rigs, better than under their own skimmers." He pulls out his phone. A Loris video shows a hybrid rig dragging 3 half-sunken skimmers like toys through a bog. On screen, human workers stomp alongside in thigh-deep water, pushing, yelling, covered in grit and pride. A ripple of chatter passes through the Zha'korr survivors. One taps at a portable transmitter, broadcasting the footage to their distant homeworld. The irony. Their humiliation becomes their salvation, proof that Earth's chaos can't be tamed by elegance alone. Alina steps in front of Versha. "You came here to mock us. Now you'll pay us. Not in your credits, in contracts." Versha lifts a trembling chin. "Contracts." She gestures to the hybrids, their cores pulsing beneath rusted plates and welded reinforcements. "Your anti-grav tech survives here only because we hacked it, armored it, and drove it through hell. Your cores need our minerals, our scrap, our mechanics." A grin cracks Manny's dirt-smeared face. Galactic traders are already bidding on the footage. Mud planets, swamp worlds. They'll want rigs that survive where your pure tech sinks. Torres, half leaning out of his cab, tosses his battered wrench onto the mud at Versha's feet. "You want Earth's muscle? Sign the deal. Or go. Back to your crystal halls and let the next monsoon swallow you." For the first time, the Zha'korr nod without contempt. They see it now. Brute force isn't backward. It's survival. It's grit they can't engineer. The rain finally breaks into thin mist. Sunlight hits the battered convoy, hybrid rigs humming like war drums. Workers stand tall beside them, steam rising from their backs like warriors ready for the next fight. In this mire, a new alliance is born. Earth's filth traded for cosmic power, and humanity, once mocked, stands ready to drag the galaxy through the mud, if that's what it takes to thrive. Years later, under the pale light of a distant mud planet's twin moons, the roar of hybrid engines echoes across an alien swamp. Alina Ruiz, older now but unbowed, stands on a weathered observation deck built atop a spindly steel tower. Below her sprawls a frontier mining colony, lights flickering in the mist, armored rigs crawling through a bottomless morass that would have swallowed the old Zha'korr skimmers whole. Through battered binoculars, she watches a convoy of hybrid machines, monstrous children of Earth's diesel beasts and alien anti-grav cores, dragging whole processing modules across rivers of sludge. Spiked treads churn the muck while glowing cores keep the rigs half floating, half digging forward, unstoppable. A holographic plaque beside her reads, Ruiz Torres Hybrid Engineering Yard, Site 001. Alina traces a gloved finger over Torres' name. He's long gone, the old man's final dozer still sits back on Earth. A museum piece that whispers stories of the day brute force met alien arrogance in the Amazon's jaws at her side. A young Zha'korr apprentice, wearing patched human coveralls smeared with swamp grit, adjusts his neural interface. His once crystalline eyes now mirror the grime and stubbornness of the humans he works beside. Foreman Ruiz. He says, voice careful but full of wonder. The new rigs, they're not graceful, but they live in this mud. Alina laughs, rough and warm. They don't just live. They thrive because they're ugly. They're stubborn. They fight the swamp like we do. Out on the horizon, massive crawler rigs drag entire refinery towers on modular sleds across toxic bogs, slicked with neon fungi. Gouts of steam rise where submerged vents threaten to drag everything under but the hybrid's grip. Claw, float, and keep moving. Their engines bellow like metal monsters draped in chains, plates, and alien cores humming defiance. Inside the rigs, human drivers sip burnt coffee from cracked mugs. Zha'korr technicians crouch over battered consoles, punching in real time. Field tweaks. There's no more mocking. Now they respect the mud, and the species willing to drown in it to get the job done. A final convoy passes beneath Elena's tower. A custom crawler nicknamed the Mud Beast 2, built from Torres. Legendary designs. Its side panels bear faded human slogans, chipped paint that reads, if it crawls, it conquers. Above, a new distress signal pings through the comms. A transmission from an unknown species stranded on a world where their elegant hovercraft have become tombs in an endless marsh. They want the Ruiz Torres hybrids. They want Earth's filthy, chain-rattling monsters to drag them through. Alina lowers her binoculars, rain starting to patter on her shoulder plates. She smiles, remembering the first wager, the first rescue in that choking Amazon mud. Let M laugh, she murmurs to herself. The mud will always have the last word. Beyond the towers, under twin moons and alien storms. A line of hybrid rigs snarls through the swamp, half levitating, half clawing, an unstoppable testament to a species that refuses to sink, no matter how deep the bog.